Today I also have the privilege of introducing Ms. Sue Bauche. Both Sue and Kurt Bauche are going to retire at the end of this year, and on behalf of the Farmington School District and the community, I would like to thank them both for their service to the school district, and if you don't mind, I'd like to give them a round of applause. Sue Bauche has been teaching for 30 years. The last 15 of those years have been here in the Farmington R7 School District. I'm going to read some career notes on Sue Bauche. Her first year teaching was actually in the Farmington School District as a dropout prevention coordinator, which Kurt said was an eye-opening experience for Sue. I believe she even had to get her bus driver's license for this job. I can't see Sue driving a bus. Sue was hired by West County a year after that, where she taught for 14 years. She inherited a concert choir at West County with just 4 students who only remembered one song from the year before, which was Elvira. When she left 14 years later, she had a concert choir of 54 students, which is a pretty impressive deal at West County especially, which is a smaller student body. Sue came to Farmington following in the footsteps of Mr. Don Veith, who had led the choir to 21 consecutive years of superior ratings with Misha at the Misha State Music Festival. She had continued that tradition here at Farmington, racking up 15 more years of the same. Just this year, Sue was selected as the Farmington R7 School District Teacher of the Year. Again, another round of applause. More important than all of Sue's accomplishments is Sue's character. This might be that part where I get a little bit emotional. Again, no Facebook. Sue is a woman of integrity. I spoke to you about integrity earlier. Sue Bauche is a woman of integrity. Sue demonstrates these many characteristics of integrity daily. Of all the characteristics that we've spoken of here today, those that I mentioned, one of them really stands out with Sue over the last year, and that is a trait of perseverance. Sue was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer 13 months ago. Kurt Bauche had this to say about his wife, Sue: "You won't find a tougher woman anywhere." She has missed very few days of school during her chemotherapy treatment. There are many days she comes to school with symptoms of nausea and fatigue, but she says, "My babies at school make me forget that I am sick." Guys, it's my privilege to introduce you today to Ms. Sue Bauche.
Thank you all so much. How do you start after an introduction like that, right? And I'm sitting over there breathing deep breaths thinking, I cry at the commercials at Christmas when the boy comes home and makes the coffee. So if he doesn't quit talking pretty soon, I'm not going to make this, but I think I'll be okay. First thing I want to do is say, hey. Hi, everybody. Where to begin? When I first found out about this, I want to tell the senior class I was quite honored that you chose Mr. McKinney and I to actually speak to you today, because this is a monumental day in your lives. And I thought, oh, great, what am I going to say? But, you know, I believe things happen for a reason. And as my email would send me something, and I thought, ooh, I could say that at graduation, or ooh, I could say that. So I came up with a few little things and hope, and I, you know, when you're following someone else, you hope they don't steal your thunder. I could have just got up here and said, well, Mr. McKinney, everything he said, guys, ditto. See ya. But I thought, no, this is my chance, so maybe I better say something. It's been a wonderful 30 years. Many times I sat down at my piano and I would say, they're paying me for this. because it was such an enjoyment. It was a life vocation instead of a teaching position most of the time. And I think good teachers, if you guys out there want to be teachers, you have to aspire to be a good teacher, and that incorporates so many more things than just walking in and teaching your subject. And I'll get onto that in a minute. But most importantly, I have had the opportunity over the past 30 years to teach some very fine people. And I'm very proud of my students. And yes, I am in contact with them on Facebook, but you guys have to wait till you're 21, okay? But I am so proud of their accomplishments, and when they keep singing, it just does my heart good, and it's just been wonderful. And here at the high school, I look out at the senior class, and I'm sorry, there are faces I don't recognize, and faces that I could not put a name to. I know my choir kids best, of course, because that's my subject, but they know me the best, too, so what can I say? How do I tell you what I really feel about all of you? Because you're all our students, whether you happen to be in my classroom or not. We take great pride in what you're going to become. So, that being said, I had the largest percentage of you when Knights Choir happened. Oh, Knights Choir. Whew. And some of you didn't go on past that, but, you know, I see a lot of faces out there that I will know forever in my life because they stayed with me to the bitter end here. Most of you recognize me as that teacher who maybe led the school song at the homecoming thing, and I would all give you those dagger looks. Okay, be quiet, we're going to sing now. Or, let me see if I can get this right. Got this picture, everybody? Got it? I would be the one teacher going down the hallway saying, hey, get the hair out of your eyes so I can see what's going on in there. And then if you happen to be in one of my classes and came in like that, I always had this little baby pink barrette that I would offer you to pull it back. I did have a couple people take me up on that. They were quite cute. Or, this one's kind of embarrassing, but you'd hear me in the hallway telling a student, pull your pants up. I don't want to see your underwear. Maybe I'm not so old school after all. How about, were you one of my students who I said, take your hat off, you're in the building? Nick. I love you, honey. Or how about, here's a good one, standing there at the end of senior hallway, and you and your girlfriend or your boyfriend just about ready to go in for that final kiss before class. And of course, me being the person I am, I stepped right in between them at the right moment and went, oh, PDA! Sometimes I even got a little peck on the cheek for my efforts. And I'm sure it was much more embarrassing for you than it was for me. I enjoyed every minute of it. Now here's one that's good too. And you all can try this, teachers next year, take over. You're out in the middle of the hallways, but class is going on, and you're out and you're walking down the hallway and you see a student coming at you, frantically texting. And they're walking and they have no idea where they're going. So what did I do? I would change my path so I was right in front of them, and I would start walking toward them just to see if they would notice. I was only run into a couple of times. It was okay. And it was funny, so that made me laugh, and I liked laughing. And here's the next one. And I did a class project in this one time, and of course I teach music, so this has nothing to do with my class, forgive me, but oh well. When I walk down the hall and there's a single solitary student coming down the hall, they usually won't look at you in the face. You guys know what I'm talking about. You're too embarrassed. I don't know this person. I'm not going to look at them. I'm not going to talk to them. They might be a creeper. But I would make it a point to always say, good morning. How are you? Good afternoon. How you doing? And they would look at me so funny, but not a one of them didn't return my smile. They always said hello, good morning, or whatever. You know, I think as a generation, we don't do that anymore. So seniors, I offer you the challenge. Walk down the hall, smile, and say hello to someone you don't know, because you're going to have to meet an awful lot of new people in your new life that's ahead of you. I would hope that all of you would return that favor, so here you go. I'm going to smile at you, and let's have a room of smiles. It spreads. Smiling is wonderful. Maybe I'm old school, but I'm okay with that, because here's what I believe. A smile goes a long way. Being nice will never go out of style. Here's a big one. Helping someone in need will never go out of style. Having good manners will never go out of style. And this is a funny one, because you guys don't believe it. I don't know. But keeping yourself well-groomed will never go out of style. Ask that next employer who doesn't hire you because you aren't clean when you walk into that interview. Think about it. And the biggest one maybe of all is respect. It has to be earned. You can't expect it. So you go out and make us proud by earning the respect of everyone around you. Now, you think about this. None of these things has to do with my teaching career. I taught music. I would teach it again. I believe music is beauty, and with beauty, we will overcome all odds. But I'm guessing that most of your teachers, they didn't teach just their subjects either, did they? How many of you had a teacher that checked your grammar? Josh? Josh and I learned that it was not Kelsey and I, it was, yeah, it was. See, Josh, now you've even got me messed up. But he swore to me that by the last day of school, he would try to say it right and say Kelsey and I, or Matt and I, and he did it once, maybe. So, you know, keep at it. They'll get it. How many of you had teachers that asked you to use good manners in their classroom? And here's the hardest part for us teachers. When you walked in that day with blue hair, and we smiled, and we turned away before you could see us say, what were they thinking? What can I say? All of us teachers at one time have put up inspirational quotes. And Marissa, you did a great job. You said a few of them, and I thought, ooh, that one's good. Ooh, that one's good. And we put them up on our bulletin boards. We say them in class. Some of us have a quote king or queen who put things up on the chalkboard, which sometimes they're a little interesting, but for the most part, they were good. And you've read them. You can't miss them. They're in bright colors. You heard them. And guess what? Every one of them's true. If you follow them, it'll work. And my advice is, you're wise to follow all that advice that you've been choking down these past years. But right now, the one that I say to myself every day is from Winston Churchill. He said, never, 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 never give up. And now that all of you know my situation, you understand why I say this to myself every day. I'm not going to throw out a bunch of those sayings right now. We don't need to hear that. But I'm going to say to you that you have to find your own inspiration. You have to find what works for you in your situation at the moment and run with it. Never, never give up. I'm going to tell you a little story to finish up. It's from a college philosophy professor. He walked in his class one day, and he did something that I hope you will appreciate and understand, and maybe take it with you and think about it when the need arises. But he walked into his classroom one day with a big jar, about yay big, and he started putting some very large rocks into this jar. When he couldn't put any more rocks in, he asked his class, well, is the jar now full? Well, Those students, being the smart people they were, said, "Well, yes, sir, it is." He smiled at them and he said, "No, I don't think so." He grabbed another container and started pouring pebbles in around the big rocks. Again, is the jar full? Well, some of the students said yes, and the other ones are figuring out that, okay, something's going on. Maybe I better not say anything. So he smiled and he went and picked up another container and he started pouring sand into the container. This time when he said, "Is it full?" not a single student answered yes, because they knew something was up. So he said, "You are right." Then he smiled and he went and got another container and he poured water into the container. When it overflowed, he said, "Now is it full?" And they said, "Yes." And then he asked them the big question. What do you think was the point and moral of that little story and that demonstration? And as they sat there and thought about it, one student said, "Things are not always what they seem." And the professor said, "That's a pretty good summary, but here's what I think. The big rocks are the big things in your life. If you don't put them in your life first, you won't be able to fit them in." In my life, my big things have been my God, my family, my friends, and I hope you would believe my students. In your life, you're going to have to figure out what the big things are and put them first. I hope you'll keep your eye on the big things, and I hope you let the pebbles and the sand and the water fit in all around them. But remember to don't sweat the small stuff. Seniors, at the end of this ceremony, you and I are going to conclude our high school careers. Mine lasted a little longer than yours, but you know. Both of us, all of us, will embark on a new life. I wish you happiness, success, a lot of laughter, because if you're not having fun, it's not worth doing it. And you remember that when you have to change jobs. And on top of that, lots of love, because love is what makes that world go round. And the only way I can think of to do it, and my choir students taught me this one, but peace out.